This is Goku-san, DBZ. And of course this is Top 12 Sunday, and I apologize for not getting Top 12 horror movies done yesterday for Halloween. Meant to do it earlier in the week and then upload yesterday. Unfortunately, work and things got interfered with, of course, getting the video done. I may try to end up doing that video after I do this video for Top 12 Sunday. I decided, since I've had people before ask me to do some personal top 12 lists, my own personal preference and view on things, to give my personal top 12s instead of doing multiple different views of many different sources. So, this Sunday I will be doing a personal top 12, top 12 favorite list. And this is my list, my own personal view, of the top 12 movies of all time. My own personal top 12. Now, there are a few tied ones here and there on the list, and honorable mentions, of course. Now, coming in, so obviously there's no other sources, since this is my own personal list. Coming at number 12 is actually a tie. Tie for number 12 of my personal favorite movies of all time. First of the two is Harry Potter and Order of the Phoenix. Now, unlike some people may rank, obviously, the first Harry Potter their favorite. For a long time, my favorite Harry Potter was probably Sorcerer's Stone, or should I say Philosopher's Stone, to be more precise. But I also very much like the second movie, which is a little bit more dark on some of the things, I guess you could say. But for the most part, good. But I love Order of the Phoenix. I know it's probably one of the farthest from the books, given the book is the longest. But I just love Order of the Phoenix movie. I thought it was very well done. Well shot. The special effects, though it's not the most important thing, but the special effects were done very well and were spot on for when it should happen in the movie. And for the most part, I thought the storytelling was good in the movie. And I liked getting to see the development of Harry. And of course, you saw him starting to have feelings, obviously, that started out towards, trying to remember now her name. I apologize. But Cho Chang, I think, I'm trying to remember. Of course, from which house was it? I apologize. Ravenclaw. But she was an interesting character, and I liked seeing, maturity and stuff of Harry in the movie, coming more of age, obviously. And also, we get introduced into the movie by, of course, the character Looney Lovegood. Interesting name, to say the least, but really interesting character overall. And, of course, we got to see more of, obviously, Lord Voldemort, since he was resurrected in, of course, the end of the last movie, Gauntlet of Fire. But I just loved this movie. Like, the darker tone was just very good. And I just enjoyed the overall job of the movie. I just thought it was really well shot, really well directed. The music was good. I may have a few disagreements, like the ending music at the very end of the movie and stuff. But, I mean, overall, it's a really great, well-directed, well-done movie. I really can't say anything bad about the movie overall. I just really enjoyed Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I just enjoyed it. Tied with it is one of my all-time favorite, of course, comic book movies, The Amazing Spider-Man, the first of course, the two Amazing Spider-Man movies, with starring Andrew Garfield. Now, for the longest time there, I always loved the Sam Raimi first Spider-Man movie with, obviously, the Green Goblin. I didn't think anything would ever challenge it or take my top spot as my favorite Spider-Man and one of my favorite movies of all time. But Amazing Spider-Man did that. Yes, in some ways I still prefer the Green Goblin from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and because I love and miss, of course, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, but I did like who they chose to play Dr. Connors slash the Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man, and I couldn't help but love the chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield was just perfect, and that was the biggest pet peeve I had with the Sam Raimi movies was I did not like Mary Jane Watson. I found her very annoying. I didn't mind her, like, say, in the 90s animated series, Mary Jane, but I found that version of Mary Jane just annoying. Well, I fell in love with the character of Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Regardless of how people feel about the second Amazing Spider-Man, I think it's far superior to Spider-Man 3, without a shadow of a doubt. But I love Amazing Spider-Man. I don't care what anybody else may have disagreements or some on it. I think it's a masterpiece. I like the tone of it, and I just thought Andrew Garfield killed it as Spider-Man. To me, he is the best Spider-Man thus far. I don't see the new, younger guy even coming close to the job that Andrew Garfield did as Peter Parker's Spider-Man, because he had the sarcasm and the perfect attitude down of Spider-Man that I knew from the 90s animated series. He embodied that, what I loved about the 90s animated series. Coming in at number 11 is more or less a guilty pleasure movie, I guess you could say. It was more of a TV channel original miniseries type event. It was a 2-part special, about 4 hours total, based on Stephen King classic It, my favorite book. And my favorite movie, even if it is really cheesy and not great special effects, but I'm sorry, given who they casted as Pennywise, the clown, is just hilarious. And the weird part, I don't get why I like this movie so much, is because clowns weird me out. Since I was a kid, I never was a big fan of clowns. They always sort of creep me out. That and the other thing that kind of always creeped me out was porcelain dolls. There was just something about the eyes and stuff that creeped me out. Ugh. But for some reason, though, I love Stephen King's It. I have not been able to figure that out. Now, obviously, if you've read the book, you know there's a lot of stuff they cut out, because there's a lot of stuff in the book you cannot adapt, obviously, to movie form. Given some of the material in the book, like for instance, you had when they were like kids, teenagers and stuff, in the flashbacks and stuff in the book, it talked about them having like orgies and stuff, and yeah, you can't do that in movie format. You just can't. As way crossing the line, given they're also technically, we're also minors, so yeah, you can't do that. So it's very interesting. They had very much limitations. Plus, on top of being a TV show, miniseries movie, it also had more budget limitations, obviously. You could tell from the production, but I just loved the cheesiness of Stephen King's It. I just can't help it. I just love it. I think the one true, genuine, creepy thing was at the beginning of the movie, one of the main kids, like when he goes in his little brother's room after he died, and finds and looks at pictures of his little brother, and then you see the picture of his brother like wink at him, and then the book starts moving and then blood starts coming out of the book. Yeah, that was a genuinely creepy moment. For the most part, though, I mean, I think the main reason why I may have found it a little creepy is because of my little phobia sort of thing with clowns. Maybe is why it felt a little more creepier to me than to most people. But I love the movie, and I just love the flashbacks. And, of course, obviously it takes place in Maine, like most King stuff. But I digress. Coming in at number 10 is of course, my all-time favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. It's the newest, pretty much, on my top list. And that is Guardians of the Galaxy, coming in number 10 favorite movie of all time. Well, I can't say about it. I've seen the movie since it came out last August 16 times. And I'm starting to memorize more of the catchphrases and stuff from the movie. And I just genuinely love Guardians of the Galaxy. My favorite part. Some people would go with Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon. I love Rocket, and I love Vin Diesel as Groot. I mean, Groot is probably my second favorite character. But my favorite, hands down, is Chris Pratt as, of course, Star-Lord, a.k.a. Darn it, Quill. Peter Quill. But love him in the movie, and regardless of what most people feel on the Marvel Cinematic Universe of villains, most people say the only true good villain is obviously Loki. Loki's probably my second favorite villain. I'd probably rank Ronan the Accuser probably tied for third favorite, with the corporate bad guy from Ant-Man, which I actually liked and thought would have made an amazing Lex Luthor. But my favorite of all time, of course, is from the new Avengers movie, Age of Ultron. I loved Ultron. Evil Tony Stark is how I see him, but he's my hands-down favorite. But yeah, tied for third favorite is Ronan the Accuser. People say he was underdeveloped, but I disagree. They actually did a pretty decent amount of backstory with Ronan the Accuser, to be fair, if you bother to actually pay attention to things. Now, I love the lineup of characters, of course. I love who they had as Gamora. I loved who played Nebula, because she played Amy, of course, in, obviously, Doctor Who, companion to the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. And also, I liked other characters in it. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of the Collector, of course. I just hope they don't bring back Howard the Duck, which was at the final ending credits scene. And of course, I look forward to again to see more of Thanos, obviously. But yeah, in general, I just love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just a great comedy, sci-fi. It's just hilarious and amazing, and one of the best movie soundtracks I've ever heard. I mean, as soon as I saw the movie, basically, I had to download the soundtrack, Awesome Mix. I just love it. I mean, you had so many great songs on that album. Like, you had the Jackson 5, you had Miles Davis. I mean, they're talking some real greats there from the 70s, and some music from the 80s. You can't beat it. I love all the pop culture references. And one of my coworkers at work, which we'll name nameless, bashes and thinks that Guardians of the Galaxy was crappy. Well, sorry to tell you, but you might want to get some new movie taste buds, just saying. And you know who you are, because I bet you'll see this video. Anyways, coming in at number 9 is a tie between two of my favorite all-time comedies. Between my favorite film, holiday season film, the original Home Alone, starring, of course, Macaulay Culkin. And, of course, Joe Pesci trying not to cuss, because when he does something, he's like, it's just hilarious. Seeing him try not to cuss in a rated PG film. Got some cussing, but for a movie involving Joe Pesci, yeah, that's pretty clean. And I loved also Marv, his partner. It's just hilarious. It's like Jigsaw for families, basically. Macaulay Culkin is like the child version of Jigsaw from Saw, or he, like with Preparation Time, he's as deadly as Batman is on Preparation. That's just how I view it. It's hilarious. Tied with it, number 9 is my personal favorite Tim Burton film, Beetlejuice. And which is, I think, personally, the best comedy/horror film of all time. And yeah, you do have a lot of horror elements, especially when they go to the agency after the couple dies. in the film, of course, Alec Baldwin is pretty much the main star. Of course, technically he is, but of course, in a lot of ways, let's face it, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice upstages everybody. And you have Winona Ryder, I think it was, in the film. Incredible. And I just loved Beetlejuice to death. I mean, pun intended, by the way. I can't help it. The whole clay animation CG, I mean, not clay CG, but yeah, clay animation and effects. I just love the cheesiness of it. That's when Tim Burton was regarded as a great artistic master. This is when he was highly regarded very positively, not seen as like a parody like he's become in more recent years, sadly. I don't think people realize the importance of Tim Burton. He helped like really influence like the whole culture of like bring goth type style and artistic view to the mainstream. He also, of course, really helped the career of obviously one of my all-time favorite actors, Johnny Depp. And as well as Beetlejuice has become a major statement in 80s pop culture. And it helped branch off like a 3-season animated show, which is awesome, from the 90s. I can't say anything but positive about Beetlejuice. I just love this movie. I've seen it, I don't know how many times over the years. I've seen it probably between 25 and 30 times. Which is one of the probably top 15 movies I've ever seen, like how many times I've seen it. Guardians of the Galaxy is approaching that elite list, by the way. Yes, there's not much else I can say, but daylight come and me want to go home. I'm sorry. I just love that whole dancing scene and stuff, where they start dancing at the dinner table and stuff. That's just hilarious. And, of course, remember, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Which, by the way, the whole Beetlejuice saying 3 times thing was kind of based off the whole urban legend, of saying Bloody Mary 3 times. If you're wondering where that whole idea came from. It came from that. Coming in at number 8, probably wouldn't be on a lot of people's top favorite movies of all time list, but it's on mine. And that is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is my second favorite Star Wars movie of the 6 current movies out. I know, people probably think it's blasphemy I'm defending one of the prequels. Well, guess what? Episode 3 is the prequel I think most people actually wanted to see. And I'll admit, there's a lot of mistakes in Episode 1, though, to be fair, Episode 1 is a guilty pleasure for me. But I will admit a lot of the mistakes in Episode 2. And that's my least favorite of the movies, is Episode 2, not Episode 1. That'd be second least favorite. But I love, my second favorite, hands down, is Revenge of the Sith. It's a very dark tone, of course. It was the first film to also be rated PG-13 in the franchise. And yes, they have officially announced Episode 7 will be PG-13. So here on out, they will probably all be PG-13s. That shouldn't be a surprise. PG-13 is the number 1 money-making rating. Look at like the top 20 largest grossing movies of all time. Like 15 of them are PG-13s. You don't believe me? Look it up on WatchMojo.com. No, seriously though. I love this movie. I love seeing the rise of Lord Vader. And we finally get to see Emperor Palpatine as he truly is, Darth Sidious. Every single Jedi is now an enemy of the Republic. Sorry for that voice. I'll stop. But you get my point. I love this film. I've seen it probably close to 30 times. But I love it. Oh my word, do I love Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And it has also references in the film to my personal favorite Sith Lord, Darth Plagueis, which was Sidious's master, obviously. and I suggest you read Darth Plagueis' novel if you haven't. Puts the whole prequels into perspective once you've actually read that. Coming in at number 7 is The Sound of Music. Yes, I know. Why would The Sound of Music be on your top of all time? Well, one, I was raised by a mother with a music degree. And I was raised around musicals, classical music, opera, a lot of this inspirational type stuff. And so I can't help but love classical music and all that, which is probably why I got into goth type stuff. But I love Sound of Music. I do. And it's a really interesting movie, given it is based on real history. And I personally love, of course, obviously, characters like Captain Von Trapp of the Von Trapp family. And, I mean, it's just an amazing, timeless classic now musical. It's regarded as one of probably the greatest movies of all time by American Film Institution. It's also by Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb. It's regarded as one, of course, probably one of the top 5 greatest musicals of all time. And I could go on about all of the great things that this movie has accomplished. And it's just really good, really well done film. I can't say anything negative about it. I just love it. It's truly a timeless classic. It's a movie I'll never get old of, tired of watching. Coming in at number 6. It's a movie actually I just rewatched for the first time in a while today. This is probably among the top 3 movies I've seen the most of in my life. I've seen this movie probably 40 times or more. It's a Disney classic from like 1960. The original. The Swiss Family Robinson. Which is a classic Disney film from 1960. I just love this film. The pirates, of course, they're Asian pirates. They were trying to obviously get to New Guinea, and they end up shipwrecked. All the air crew had escaped and stuff, but they find themselves on this island and stuff. They have to build like treehouse and everything to survive, and then later the 2 older brothers decide to go out, explore, and they come across, save this girl that's dressed up as a boy and stuff to help fool the pirates to keep her safe. Her grandfather, which is a naval or whatever captain, merchant, anything. Story short, and of course, again, to see the pirates and stuff trying to get the mountain after the family and stuff. You have like these explosions and stuff set underground. They chop logs that go flying down pits, one with a tiger in it, which is hilarious. And my personal favorite thing, when they start throwing, chucking out coconut bombs. Yeah, coconuts with fused with tons of gunpowder. It's just hilarious. A coconut bomb. That's just awesome. Sorry it is, but I just love the movie. Oh my word, I love this movie. But it comes in at number 6, The Swiss Family Robinson. Coming in at number 5 is a tie between a modern classic and a true all-time classic. The first, the modern classic, created by Brett Ratner, is, of course, Gladiator, which stars, obviously, Russell Crowe, and also Phoenix in it as the Emperor, which made a great bad guy. He's kind of a douche in real life, but he is a phenomenal actor, to be fair. Phoenix is great. But oh my word, that movie was so amazing. The music was incredible. The directing was incredible. The cinematography and the way they used special effects for like backgrounds, like showing Rome with the Colosseum and everything. I mean, just the way this film was done was truly spectacular thing to experience. The first time I saw this film, my mind was blown. And by the way, my mother loves this movie, and she's not a big fan of blood and gore, but that didn't stop her from really enjoying this film. This is a film that a lot of different types of moviegoers can truly love and enjoy. I just love Gladiator. It truly is a modern classic, and I highly regard it. Very well done on every area. Tied with it at number 5 is the classic Charlton Heston film, based on, of course, Moses. And, of course, that being, obviously, the Ten Commandments. And I'm not the biggest religious person. I'm more or less a secular, but I appreciate the Ten Commandments for what it is. It's a really well done film, and if you look at it for the time period it was done in, the production was pretty good for its time period. I mean, seriously. Special effects are to be desired by today's standards, but for that time, those special effects are top-notch for that time period, for the 60s. I mean, seriously. And Charlton Heston did an awesome job as Moses. I can't say anything negative about the film. It's just an incredible film. And I've always loved it. And, of course, it's become a modern staple now that people tend to watch before, like, Easter. Obviously, it's become a big thing now for people to watch during the Easters and stuff in the spring. It's just a trademark, like you'd watch, like, Home Alone or something at Christmas. You watch that at Easter, which is interesting. But it's a great, amazing film, and I highly recommend, if you've never actually watched the Ten Commandments, I highly suggest you actually check it out. You will not be disappointed if you enjoy classic movies. Sorry for those sirens or whatever it's in the background. Sounds like it's come from about a block or so away from the main road, which is like a block from where I live. Coming in at number 4, my all-time favorite Steven Spielberg film, Jurassic Park. And this is not really a surprise, I think, to anyone, because everyone knows I highly regard Jurassic Park as a phenomenal film. And that's why I loved when I got to see Jurassic World this year. It was the sequel I waited for. And getting to see the actual original T-Rex at the very end of the film from Jurassic Park in Jurassic World was just awesome. Such a great thing. Flashback, and of course I love Jurassic World because I love Chris Pratt. But Jurassic Park is phenomenal, and the magic that is Goldblum, of course, awesome in that movie. He's just such a cool, sarcastic character. But he kind of plays the same character in almost every 90s film he was in after that, basically. Like, he basically played a similar character in Independence Day, if you think about it. But I love Jurassic Park. To goodness gracious, I love it. Coming in at number 3, The Wizard of Oz. At one time, this was my number 1 favorite movie. Until more recently, I started really putting things into perspective. But it's still a timeless classic, and I still love it. Which is why it's still in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. It still stands at number 3. Because it's such an incredible film. And I've seen this movie probably the second most of any movie ever. At least second most, if not the most. Hard to say, actually, between the top 3 movies I've seen the most. The other one it's tied with, I'm not going to mention. Yeah, guilty pleasure film, so I'm not going to mention it. But I love I love Wizard of Oz. It's a true timeless classic musical. And it's funny, I mean, you could quote so many phrases from this film in many countries around the world, and people immediately know what you're talking about. Like, for instance, I'll get you my pretty and your little dog too. Or, how about, I'm melting, what a world, what a world. I mean, there's so many quotable lines from the film. It's just amazing film, really it is. Some of the effects may be cheesy by today's standards, but it truly has just a certain charm about the film that you don't see in a lot of films. Even from that, it's hard to believe that film was done in 1939. The same year, another huge, spectacular film would be done called Gone with the Wind. It's hard to believe. Two of the greatest films of all time done the same year. That's hard to believe. And both of them have become such huge icons in pop culture, in movie culture in general. It's just insane. Both of them came out the same year. Coming in at number 2, my favorite Star Wars movie. And my favorite science fiction movie of all time. Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back at number 2. Any doubt that Star Wars Empire Strikes Back would be so high? Not really. Yeah, it's without a doubt my favorite, and it's definitely by far the darkest of the original Star Wars trilogy, like Revenge of the Sith is the darkest of the prequels. Okay, I may not be saying much because of the prequels, but Empire Strikes Back was incredible. I mean, as good as Return of the Jedi and A New Hope were, Empire Strikes Back just blows those two out of the water. It is far superior. Yes, the original trilogy was incredible, but I think most people would agree if you had to choose one of the Star Wars trilogy original, it's going to be Empire Strikes Back. It is. There's no debate about it on that. But it's just an incredible film, like seeing Han frozen in carbonite. Of course, we see the progression of course, the story and stuff between Han and Leia. We get introduced to Lando Calrissian, which is awesome. I mean, come on. As awesome as people think Han Solo is, let's just face it. Lando Calrissian is kind of cooler than he is. Than Han is. And of course, you gotta love the best lightsaber fight or whatever fight in the original trilogy is the fight between Vader and Luke, which is just awesome. And of course, we get the largest, breathtaking clincher towards the end of a movie you could ever have, which is when Vader tells Luke that I am your father. I could only imagine how that people would have reacted in 1980 when this movie was in theaters and people saw it for the first time and found out that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker, Luke's father. I can only imagine how everyone's mouth probably dropped open. Now, honorable mentions. Star Wars A New Hope, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom, E.T., the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and the last two honorable mentions, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, and Return to Oz, which was an incredible film. Oh yeah, and actually I take that back one more, Dark City. And now, number 1 is a trilogy, because I can't choose which is the best. And that is Peter Jackson's masterpiece, Crowning Jewel. And the most successful single trilogy ever at box office. And that is Lord of the Rings. I mean, I can't choose. I mean, absolutely, if I was at gunpoint, I had to choose, I'd probably choose, it's a toss-up between Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers, but I really can't choose a favorite from this trilogy. It's just too hard to choose from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Hands down, the greatest movie trilogy, and yes, I know, I'm a huge Star Wars fanatic, but, oh my word, like, the Star Wars trilogy was to the generation who was around, like, in the late 70s, in the 80s and stuff. Lord of the Rings trilogy was like my Star Wars original Star Wars trilogy to me and people of my age group. And yes, I'm in my early 30s, but I just can't help but love Lord of the Rings. There's so many iconic things about it, and oh my goodness, Christopher Lee as... Oh my word. Christopher Lee was just mind-blowingly incredible in that film. As... Oh my word. As Saruman. He was just incredible, but also Gandalf. Gandalf was epically awesome. And of course, we can't forget Aragorn, son of Arathorn, the one true king of Gondor. And of course, we can't forget the probably most iconic death Sean Bean ever had in the end of Fellowship of the Ring. Was just amazing. Of course, Aragorn. But it was just such a magical trilogy. I just love these three films. They just blow my mind in epicness. Anyways, I'll cut this up. This vlog's a little bit on the long side. I hope you enjoyed my top 12 favorite movies of all time. And hopefully tonight or tomorrow morning I'll upload the top 12 horror movies. So stay tuned for that. And of course for comic book reviews. And I changed one of the comics I was going to originally review this week with issue 1 of the new Guardians of the Galaxy I'll be doing. Because I got a few interesting things to talk about with that. I've read it a couple times so I can try to be a little more in-depth with the review. Because I had my respond on my Batman Beyond issue number 2 review to give a little bit more of my perspective on at least a couple of comics. So I'm going to try to do that with issue 1 of the new Guardians of the Galaxy comic. So stay tuned for that. As always, this is Goku's Son DBZ. Peace out. Hopefully someday we do. Follow me at twitter.com/GokuSunDBZ. Please like this video up, subscribe, share my video if you like any of the videos I do, top 12 lists, or comic book reviews, or other things I've done. And I may soon be doing possibly a second album review of one of my personal favorite albums of all time, Human Clay by Creed. So possibly stay tuned for that. And I'm working on a TV show review of Farscape Season 1 through 4. So I'll see you next time here in YouTube land. And I hope you all have a good week.